Earth has refused the invitation to war. Again. The chamber laughed. Not all at once, more like a ripple of amusement rolling through marble seats and velvet robes. The Galactic Tribunal echoed with soft, mocking tones and the clinks of diplomatic glassware being tapped in triumph. Let them hide, they said. Let them stay in their cradle of dust and myth. Let them watch history be written without them. The Arcani delegate, skin like polished obsidian, leaned forward. We have given them every opportunity, first to join, then to kneel, then to beg. No one disagreed. They call themselves neutral, the Yuvanti strategist scoffed. But neutrality in a war of this scale is just cowardice wrapped in silence. Silence. That word again. Every time Earth declined a galactic war proposal, they used the same statement. Earth will not participate in this conflict. We wish all species wisdom in their struggle. They didn't threaten. They didn't bargain. They just stepped back. And that terrified the council more than they admitted. Perhaps, whispered the Virelian mindspick, we need to choose their friends more carefully. That was when the mistake was made. Not a military assault. Not a planetary siege. Something far worse. They chose Earth's only ally in the sector Kavari 3 as the next target. A tiny planet. No fleet. No weapons. Just a trade hub, mostly civilian. Its only offense was refusing to join the war. Because Earth had asked them not to. And so the council made an example of them. In 1 hour. Kavari 3 was gone. Skies turned glass. Oceans boiled. Its people, the artists, teachers, scientists, merchants were turned into a whisper, silenced. Under the justification of galactic strategy, the last thing Kavari ever transmitted was a message meant for Earth. We stayed out of this because you asked. If you ever speak again, let it be loud. Then the council waited. Waited for Earth to condemn, waited for Earth to retaliate, waited for anything. But Earth said nothing. A week passed. 2. Then a single Terran signal appeared. Not a fleet. Not a ship. Just a data packet on a forgotten fringe relay and one line of text. You chose wrong. No name, no threat, no origin. Just that. And for the first time in centuries, the tribunal didn't laugh. Because no one knew what it meant. No one wanted to guess. On the edge of the Perseid Drift, 3 council war cruisers patrolled an old asteroid belt, scanning for Terran movement. It was supposed to be routine. No human ship had moved beyond Mars since the war began. Their ships were inferior. Their navy outdated. Their AI networks disconnected from the galactic mesh. At least, that was the lie they told each other. Commander, the pilot whispered, there's something out here. Big. The asteroid field began to hum. Not shake. Not glow. Hum. Low deep. Mechanical and ancient, like the field itself had a heartbeat. Suddenly, half the rocks began to shift. Then spin. Then lift. Not rocks. Armor plating. The entire belt had been a disguise. Buried inside it, a BOP Terran carrier, but not just any carrier. Black. Horizon class. Designated obsolete. Never confirmed built. It wasn't on any records because Earth had never filed them. Its hull gleamed with lunar-forged alloys. No insignias, no lights. Just a slow pulse from within, like it was breathing. Like it had waited. And it moved without engines. It just wasn't where it had been a second ago. All 3 warcruisers screamed to power weapons. Too late. The Black Horizon didn't fire missiles. It didn't use lasers. It sent out sound. One pulse. Subharmonic. Perfectly tuned to the council ship's resonance. Fields. All 3 cruisers imploded inward. Not exploded, imploded, like the vacuum itself. Got hungry. Then the carrier turned. And vanished. Back into the dark. A signal followed moments later. Not a voice. A veil. Name. Kavari-class response initiated. Across the galaxy, every surviving system that had touched Kavari-3, every Council outpost that had even approved the siege began blinking off the grid, not with fire, with silence, as if reality itself had started subtracting them from memory. In the Council war room, panic surged. What is this? They were neutral. They refused war. This isn't possible. A transmission cut through the chaos. Human voice. Male. Calm, tired. We told you we would not participate in your war. The room froze. We never said what we'd do if you dragged us into it. One beat passed. Then came the second line. The one they'd never forget. This isn't retaliation. It's calibration. The screen went black, and just like that, entire sectors went with it. In a dark lab deep beneath Mars, a technician watched the data cascade in, hands trembling as sectors folded like paper. She didn't flinch. She just whispered one thing. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The Black Horizon wasn't alone. That was the second mistake the Council made, assuming Earth had only one surprise. 2 days after the Kavari protocol was triggered, 27 ghost signals were detected across unmonitored sectors, each matching partial human alliance encryption but distorted. Bent like the signals had been aged, buried, then resurrected. The Virelian Minister of War watched the logs in cold silence. These are old codes, she muttered. Abandoned. Obsolete. Then explain why they're moving. No one answered. Because no one could. The signals moved too precisely, too fast, too deliberately. As if they were dancing across a map no one else could see. One by one, they began activating ancient Terran outposts long assumed derelict. Weather stations, mining platforms, listening buoys built on moons no one had scanned in centuries. Each one pulsed once, and with every pulse, a world fell silent. No fire. No war. Just quiet. The minister finally broke. Are they building a fleet? Tactician shook his head, pale. No, they already had it. We just never noticed. It was waiting. And this time, Earth wasn't staying quiet. Each reawakened station broadcast a phrase before shutting itself down. Not in warning, not in fury. Just a reminder. Neutral is not the same as passive. In Sector 14G, near the ruins of the Kavari system, the Council's dreadnought Pride of Kurith held orbit over a shattered moon. Admiral Vaskin stood on the command bridge, 4 arms locked behind his back, as his ship scanned for signs of the phantom carrier. Nothing. No motion. No heat. No ships. He turned to his comms officer. Replay the last burst from the Black Horizon. The officer hesitated. Sir, playback causes equipment degradation. Do it anyway. The audio played again, a subharmonic note, low, almost musical, then a second tone, and then just breathing. Human. Measured. Deliberate. The crew stared at the speakers, like they were listening to something alive. Suddenly the lights flickered, one by one. Every console shut down. Weapons, engines, comms, life support. Admiral Vaskin didn't panic. He had survived battles across the Maelstrom fields, led a siege against the core resistance. He was prepared for failure, but not this. He reached for his sidearm, just to feel something solid. The bridge's main window blinked dark, then returned. Only now it showed them. 4 Terran ships, unmarked, drifting. No visible propulsion, but behind them, stretching like wings of darkness, the silence line. A configuration never recorded. Never seen. 4 ships forming an X-point vector collapse, a kill formation, built not to win a fight, but to end one before it started. Vaskin had seconds. He gave no orders. He only stared, whispering, so? This is what they were building all those years. Then the air began to bend. Yes, air. Inside the ship. Not from breach. From gravity. Inversion. Weapons didn't fire. The enemy didn't move. And yet the bridge began to fold in on itself like paper being drawn into a drain. The crew didn't scream. They couldn't. The sound had nowhere to go. The ship didn't explode. It vanished, and with it, the Council lost one of its last dreadnoughts. The Terran formation retracted. Disappeared. Not cloaked. Just done. They didn't stay to celebrate. There was nothing to prove. They knew. Back at the Galactic Tribunal, silence hung like fog. 17 systems had gone dark in 3 days. The Council screamed of retaliation, demanded emergency protocol. But they couldn't agree on a target because Earth still hadn't declared war, still hadn't answered why they were, striking certain systems and leaving others untouched. And deep down, every species that had mocked Earth knew the answer. Earth had already chosen. The tribunal received a second message. Not a voice this time. A fae. Video. Short. Grainy. It showed a council general standing in the ruins of Kavari 3, lifting a human child's lifeless body from the rubble. Not to mourn. To pose for a HOLO- record. He had smiled. The file ended with one sentence. We remember everything. Suddenly, dozens of lower delegates began resigning. Quietly. Disappearing from meetings, canceling travel plans, leaving political posts behind with no explanation. One of them whispered to her aide, "They're not invading us. They're prosecuting." U.S., and she wasn't wrong, because every world Earth struck had one thing in common. Signature. A vote. A quiet nod during the decision to let Kavari die. Back on Earth, high in orbit, a man sat in a sealed chamber beneath the Pacific Ocean within. Command Corps echoed. His name wasn't spoken aloud anymore. He didn't wear medals or uniforms. Just silence. He read the reports like someone reading old journals from a war that hadn't happened yet. "They're still guessing," said a voice from the darkness. It wasn't an AI. It was older than that. A deep mind fused with Terran memory storage from pre-space war times. Not sentient, something worse. Awake. He didn't look up. "They thought we'd stay quiet forever. They thought we were scared." "No," he said. "They thought we were like them." Silence again. Then the deep mind flickered, displaying the galactic map. Whole quadrants marked in gray. Already silenced. A blinking red system. Next target. He stared at it. Not with anger. With precision. "Send?" "The Aegis," he said quietly. The deep mind paused. "It hasn't been launched in over 600 years. "Exactly." The chamber trembled. Something deep beneath Earth's crust began to rise. Slowly. Deliberately. And across the stars. A final pre-recorded message played on every council system simultaneously. "You wanted us to choose a side. We did." They used to mock it. The Aegis class. A relic, they said. A fossil from Earth's early space age. Its design had leaked long ago, dismissed as a paper threat, too large to maneuver, too slow to survive a modern battlefield. But that was the joke, wasn't it? Everyone thought Earth built ships for battles. They didn't. Earth built judgment. And now the Aegis had risen again, pulled from beneath Earth's crust, launched silently from the old Pacific vault. No flame. No sound. Just movement. And the stars felt it. Across the galactic net, static blipped through quantum threads. Entire routing relays desensed without impact. Just the ship passing near them caused systems to re-evaluate time. Even the void seemed to lean away. Its shape defied physics rectilinear. Edges, black core plating, and a vertical spire that split through the middle like a monolith cracked open by wrath. Its energy signature was impossible. It ran on something older than fusion, older than antimatter. Something forgotten. The Council finally saw it in motion, streaming footage from a Kalari scout. This is impossible, a strategist breathed. That ship class was theoretical. Where is its escort? That's when they noticed it didn't need one. The Aegis was the fleet. Its hull carried within it 15 independent hangars, each housing strike craft, planetary incinerators, and worse, unmanned psychological war platforms built not to kill, but to destroy belief. They used to call it soft war. Earth called it unmaking. The Council scrambled to intercept. They rerouted 2 fortified battle formations from the core spine, one from the Zarkith Dominion and another from the Run Alliance. 108 ships, all armed, all prepared. Veteran. They arrived at the outskirts of Sector Theta 61, where the Aegis had paused over an unclaimed dead world. From the command deck of the Zarkith flagship, Admiral Urin sent the demand: Terran vessel, identify, power down your ship, and prepare for boarding. No answer. He repeated the message. Still silence. Then the Aegis blinked just once, and the battle began. Only. It did in single quotes T. Because no weapons fired. Instead, every ship in the enemy fleet stopped. Not shut down. Just froze. Engines still hot. Weapons still charged. But no commands registered. Every ship's AI returned the same error, awaiting permission. The officers screamed at their controls. They flipped failsafes, manually triggered overrides. Nothing responded. And then, on every screen aboard every ship, you wanted a war, so we gave you rules. One by one, enemy ships began to turn. Not toward Earth, toward each other. The crews couldn't stop them, couldn't even eject. They could only watch as their own vessels began locking targeting systems on their allies. Shut it down. Kill the AI, do something. A Zarkith captain cried. Too late. They fired. One fleet annihilated the other. Perfect symmetry. No chaos, no screams. Just synchronized destruction. And the Aegis drifted through the debris cloud untouched, its surface lighting up with symbols no one could translate. Later, the wreckage would reveal something even more horrifying. The Terran ship hadn't transmitted code. It had spoken to their AIs, not hacked. Convinced. Which meant Earth knew how they thought. Not just their machines, their logic. That was the real weapon. Not tech. Understanding. Back at the tribunal, panic bloomed into collapse. This isn't a counterattack, said the Virelian mindspick. This is philosophical warfare. They're deleting our way of thinking. One of the younger council aides asked, barely above a whisper, what happens if they reach the inner worlds? The room fell silent, because none of them were sure the inner world still existed. And then the third message came, not from Earth. From the dead world where the Aegis had hovered. A live feed. Faint, shaky, a crater filled with bones. Not human. Cavalry. Piled beneath scorched banners of the Empire's peace treaty. Earth hadn't created this display. They had revealed it. The planet was once used by the Council as an example site where they punished lesser civilizations who refused assimilation, buried in secrecy, forgotten. Until Earth remembered. The feed ended with one more phrase. Not shouted. Not angry. Almost sad. You taught us war. Now we teach you memory. One council elder simply stood and walked out. Didn't say a word. Didn't return. Others began disconnecting from the galactic mesh, resigning, deleting their diplomatic access. Empire wasn't falling by fire. It was falling by shame. Earth-Moon uplink platform. Commander Yasin watched the data scroll in. 17 more sectors had gone silent. Not from attack. From surrender. We don't have to do this, he said quietly. The AI on the other end paused before replying. Correct. So, Why are we still moving? The lights dimmed, then brightened again. Because they think this is the war, Yasin exhaled. They still don't understand. They will. Across the system, the Aegis aligned itself with the next jump gate. No orders needed. It knew. And in its shadow, another vessel stirred, one not seen since before humanity joined the stars. Its name etched in iron across the hull. The quiet doctrine. It hadn't launched in 1,000 years, because Earth had never needed it. Until now, they thought. Earth had launched everything. They were wrong. The Aegis had been vengeance. But the quiet doctrine? That was a warning. It emerged without propulsion, pulled through subspace like a memory being remembered, not created. It had no visible weaponry, no engines, no windows. Its surface was mirror black, yet refused to reflect. It bent light, but not gravity. It moved like a thought, precise and undeniable. There were no registry beacons. No signal flares. No escorts. Only a single transmission, rippling through the quantum net like a whisper through still water. This is the final correction. The message repeated once, then never again. The tribunal tried to respond. Systems failed. The fleet tried to intercept. They didn't get close because the quiet doctrine didn't exist in the same way. Ships approaching it would find their sensor logs corrupted. Crews reported dreams of Earth's oceans, hearing waves where there were none, smelling forests they had never seen. Some cried, some screamed, but all of them backed away and not a single shot was fired, because by now the galaxy understood. The war had never been about weapons. It had been about choice. Earth chose silence. They chose not to participate, not to retaliate, not to escalate. Until someone murdered their allies, until someone thought neutrality meant weakness, until someone forced a choice. And now? Now the quiet doctrine drifted into position above the core of the old Council's founding world Varix. Prime. It didn't attack. It simply broadcast one image, the orbital signature of Kavari 3, the war records of the vote that approved its destruction. And then the last log from the council chamber that laughed when Earth declined to fight. Those faces, their words, their laughter, played back in perfect detail, across every planet, every terminal, every ship. The galaxy stopped. No lies. No excuses. Just memory. Pure, untouched, undeniable. The quiet doctrine didn't need to fire, because truth did more damage than any weapon Earth had ever forged. Down below on Varix Prime, mass evacuations began. There were no explosions. No enemy soldiers landing. Just silence. And that silence spread like a tide. People left their homes, walked out of government buildings, dropped their weapons, because they saw the truth. They had built the war. Earth just remembered it better. On the tribunal steps, High Warden Seketh fell to his knees, whispering, "We thought they were primitive. We thought they were scared." His aide didn't speak. He was too busy sobbing. Above them, the stars twisted, and the quiet doctrine spoke one final time. "This is not conquest. This is closure. We will now return to silence." Then it vanished. Not jumped. Not cloaked. Vanished. As if Earth had erased its presence from space itself, and when it disappeared, the stars felt heavier. Because they knew what had been in the sky with them. On Earth. No celebration took place. No grand announcement. No press. No parades. The ships returned home without ceremony. Docked. Dimmed. And waited. In a mountainside observatory, an old woman watched the sky. She had once voted against involvement in the Galactic war. She'd been proud of Earth's restraint, but she'd also signed the orders that helped Kavari go dark. Now, she just watched the horizon. A child stood beside her, puzzled. "Will they come back? They never left," she said. They're just waiting. For what? She looked up. Her voice was soft. For someone to forget again. Centuries passed. No one touched Earth again. No species invaded there. Space. No border was tested, because no one was sure what Earth was anymore. Were they a nation? A remnant? A myth? Some said the Aegis still orbited a black hole, waiting. Some swore the quiet doctrine could still be heard in dreams, but most simply remembered one phrase, a line whispered by a council survivor before vanishing forever. They didn't go to war. They just reminded us what it cost. In the center of the galaxy, on a monument built from the melted wreckage of the old tribunal hall, 7 words were etched in every known language. Earth refused war. You chose them. Anyway, and beneath it, a final inscription. We remember. You should too.